So the Australia program, we're focusing on two specific areas of social justice: refugee law, which is of huge importance to Australia, and environmental law, which is also of huge importance to Australia. On the refugee side, Australia, like the United States, is a country of, is a destination country. And so they have a great number of refugees coming both through legitimate means and also through undocumented. And how Australia deals with its refugee situation has been a source of angst to the country, and you read about it every day in the newspaper. So the opportunity to study it there and to talk to judges and practitioners who are actually working in the field is of enormous benefit and helps us compare the way the U.S. Handles refugees, and we get ideas about our own system from that. On the environmental law, Australia is a very unique environment because it's the only country that is its own continent. And so it has very unique flora and fauna and important protection mechanisms to protect that flora and fauna. It has the cutest animals in the world, and we do take a trip to an Australian wildlife center so that you can actually get to pet a koala and maybe hold a wombat and otherwise get to see these wonderful animals up close. Australia also has great mineral deposits in oil and gas, so there are a lot of environmental protections that go into that as well. It also has a very strong indigenous culture, and that indigenous culture is tied strongly to land rights. So the Australian law on land rights is also part of what we would study in environmental law, and is a fascinating history, and a lot is going on in development of those indigenous rights. So that's our course, and it's taught by, I teach part of the refugee law course. A wonderful local barrister named Nick Pointer teaches the Australian portions of the refugee law course. We also have the opportunity to have guest visits from other practitioners in the fields of trafficking in persons and other areas related to refugee law. We also take trips to courts, and we make a special effort to hear cases on appeal involving refugees. So one of the highlights of our visit last year was a visit to the Federal Court of Australia to hear an appeal in a refugee case. And the judge was so kind to us. He brought us in first and gave us tea and talked to us about the case. Then we heard the case. Then he brought us back to chambers and gave us lunch and talked more about the case. So that was a wonderful experience. You know, we just don't get the chance to talk to judges and really hear what they're thinking about the cases that often. So that was fabulous.
So maybe, Jeff, maybe you could tell a little bit about your internship.
Yes, of course, I'd love to. I spent my summer interning at IARC, the Immigration Advice and Rights Center in Sydney, and it was a wonderful, amazing opportunity. I can't say enough about it. I was given the opportunity to work one-on-one with a number of clients who were seeking protection visas, and they were refugees from all around the world. And it really helped me develop my interviewing skills, and just really the client side experience was second to none, essentially. I was filming and doing a wide variety of tasks, legal research, I covered a broad range of areas, including constitutional law research, Australian constitutional law research, doing research on country conditions information, and it was a wonderful experience. I can't say enough about it.
Were the supervisors helpful? Were they good lawyers?
Oh, yes. I still think it was one of the most collegial and just enjoyable experiences, like professional experiences I've ever had. All the attorneys there, they treated each other like family, and I'm not being hyperbolic when I say I really enjoyed going into work every single day. There were plenty of jokes to be had. The Australian sense of humor, you have to experience it for yourself firsthand. But of course, they offered plenty of constructive feedback, and I learned a lot. They gave me great feedback on my writing, and also just being able to watch the way the lawyers handled the different interviews and their own interviewing techniques. I think I managed to pick up on that, and that was invaluable. So as far as the orientation activities goes, Professor Averill took us on, it was a nighttime boat ride around Sydney Harbor. And unfortunately, I don't remember some of the names of the various harbors, but it's right around Sydney. Essentially, we went right around Sydney Opera House, and this happened while there was a citywide, some sort of light festival called Vivid Festival, and all the buildings are illuminated. It's a sight to behold. We had dinner at a quaint restaurant with a number of Australian law practitioners, where it was just a great chance to meet them one-on-one and get used to learn something about the culture, learn a little bit of a culture. It's not that different. It's not that different from the United States, and luckily we speak the same language, so there is not a huge transition that you have to make in terms of acclimating yourself in that respect. So that makes things easier. While on the program, I had the opportunity I took some time to travel elsewhere in Australia. I traveled to Brisbane and to the Gold Coast, which is north of Sydney and has, I guess, a more tropical environment. So Sydney gets a little bit colder because their seasons are reversed. But luckily, going up north meant that I was able to experience a more tropical, temperate environment. And really, the Gold Coast, they kind of compare it to a mixture of Miami and the Miami and Vegas of Australia, if you will, or at least they try. So it was quite an experience. To find housing, the Santa Clara website has a lot of helpful links, has some very helpful links. It provides options for, I think, the Australian website of Craigslist, which is Gumtree. And there's also the Study Abroad program also has their own Facebook page. That makes it really easy to connect with fellow students who are also in the program. I personally, however, I decided to Airbnb about my first week there, and then I managed to put in a lease for a short-term room, essentially, through one of the links provided on Santa Clara Law's Study Abroad page.
How close was where you lived to the school?
The room that I was renting was about a 20-minute walk from the school. Not bad at all. It was maybe a 5-minute bus ride, and the public transportation there works very well. It was also maybe about a 20-minute walk in the other direction to the place where I ended up interning at. There's a multitude of housing options available that are close by to the school and also to the various internship sites.
Do you remember anything that you did, any sites that you particularly liked in Sydney?
Sydney is a city that's full of wonderful and amazing sites. Professor Averill took us on a trip to the Blue Mountains, and it was breathtakingly gorgeous there. It was like the Grand Canyon, a mixture of the Grand Canyon and very scenic forests that you see in movies. If you head out east from Sydney, however, it's the home of the world-renowned Bondi beaches, and the coastline there is also just a sight to die for. Those really stick out in my mind.
I think one of the best things about the Santa Clara program is the internships that are available. We have really 3 varieties of this. The first ones are in refugee organizations, so law offices that represent people seeking protection visas or other types of immigration relief. The second is in criminal defense. So we have an arrangement with the Legal Aid of New South Wales with their criminal defense department, and students can work with barristers and solicitors who are defending people in criminal courts. The third is offices that deal with environmental law, such as the Environmental Defenders Organization. And I think maybe one of the best things about these internships is developing skills, of course, but also the opportunity to get to know Australian lawyers and future lawyers. And Jeff, I think, might have experienced this himself.
Absolutely. The place where I was doing my internship that summer, the Immigration Advice and Rights Center, there were some other Australian students there who were doing their practical legal training, which is a requirement for their law students, essentially, to become lawyers. And it was an absolutely wonderful networking opportunity, being able to collaborate with those talented individuals many of whom are now practicing attorneys in Australia, and being able to still be in touch with them today. I think it's safe to say I've formed some lifelong friendships.
We also have an internship in Fiji, a really unique opportunity with a private law firm there. And the tasks assigned to the students vary from year to year. But last year, the student assigned to that placement did a lot of research and policy work on deep sea mining. So that's a great place to spend the summer, and the law firm is very welcoming and provides a lot of care for the students. Our courses are given at the University of Technology Sydney School of Law. So this is a great opportunity because we're having classes right with a lot of Australian law students, and students have the opportunity to meet those law students and form connections with them. UTS is located in a great place, great part of Sydney. It's about 4 blocks from Darling Harbour, which is a beautiful place to go and visit. Lots of shops and restaurants, and just a beautiful place. It's also walking distance to the central business district where the courts are located. It's also walking distance to Sydney University, which is a really beautiful campus and nice to walk to. So we're in a great location. So we hope to see you on the Sydney program in 2017. It's a great place to learn about refugee law, learn about environmental law, experience a wonderful group of people, see wonderful landscapes and animals, and do an internship that will improve your skills and let you network with Australian lawyers and Australian law students.